have kind of snuck up on that suddenly you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough hours in the week, you don't have enough days to be able to get to these things. And maybe you said yes to it all. You love what you're doing at work. I find this with a lot of successful leaders. So if you're listening to this and you've seen a measure of success, guess what? People are going to want more of your time, more of your energy, and you're going to be tempted to say yes, yes, yes to all those things. Here's the problem. Most of those things are good. Very few of them are best. And that's where clarity comes in. Now, what's bad? Overwhelm. The negative side of this is when you have said yes to some bad things. Now, maybe these are draining things. Maybe these are way too many things you knew you shouldn't have said yes, but because of your character, you're going to continue to live those out. Honestly, most of us live in the combination of both. Is that we have a lot of good things, and then a couple of hard or bad things come in there, and then we have to manage those. We have to take care of those emergencies, and we are trying to get to the bad and the good in the course of the week. So however you got there, whether it's more positive overwhelm, whether it's more negative overwhelm that started with, regardless, we have an issue on our hands. We get it. You're busy. You want to grow, and we want to help. You're passionate about your craft because it deeply matters to you. Your faith is important. It's your foundation. At Stay Forth, we coach leaders to avoid burnout, live and lead with clarity, purpose, and from a place of health. We want you to experience long-term impact. Welcome to the journey.
Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. We are finally into probably one of my favorite parts of the podcast, which is our summer series. And we have an important topic we're going to walk you through this year, Alan. I'm excited about this. It's practical. I mean, the one thing the summer series does for me is I love to run. I love to be outside. I love to be doing certain things. And the whole idea came from, as we're doing different things over the summer. I mean, people that listen to podcasts love podcasts. And I always try to come at it from a different angle. And so I think creatively, this brings a cool opportunity for people to, whether you're sitting on the beach, whether you're running, whether you're hiking, whether you're sitting by a pool, whatever it is you're doing differently, to find a way to live and lead in a lighter way, as we're going to dive into. I think this podcast brings a lot to that, and it's something that we found the third year in a row now that a lot of people love. So, man, I'm glad to be back here doing with you again.
I love the summer series. We've gotten great feedback as well from a lot of you listening. Now we're on YouTube, so we have some pretty exciting features over there. So if you haven't checked us out on YouTube, it just looks more engaging, and we've got some cool surprises we can't do on audio. But summer series, the idea is we want you to be outside. I don't know about you, but I want to be next to a stream, or I want to be next to a lake. I want to be running or walking. And what we want to do is shift from more of an informational focus, where we have interviews throughout the year. We have some incredible guests that have come on and will continue to come on in the fall. But for these 2 months of July and August, what we're doing is we're bringing you a more transformational look at this. So instead of just new information, your brain is tired, you've gotten through the end of school, and I hope you're already having some family time and relaxing and frankly just getting outside to replenish in creation. We want to meet you there. So what we do during this time is offer you a new topic, and we'll share kind of what we're dissecting this summer, but we will offer you a new topic with some new information. Then we leave you a question and some time to be able to process that. Remember, we are a coaching organization, and many times we forget to remind you of that. We may even forget to remind you of a question that can change your life afterwards. So we would love to hear at the end of the summer, like we've heard the last two, that Jonathan and I leaving some space here on this podcast allowed you to be able to create some clarity and ultimately to design your way forward. So that's one of the things I love about the summer series.
Yeah, so before we jump in, I just want to give them kind of an overview of what to expect. Like, if this is your first time tuning in, this will be the first time for everybody where you'll have the opportunity to watch it. There's some different things you'll experience if you're able to watch it over on our YouTube. Shameless plug. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, by the way, go ahead and do that. I will drop all the links right below in the show notes, and it's a great time over there. But summer series, how to get the most out of it. you're used to listening to podcasts in your car or doing something while you're driving, that's fine. You can still do that. But these are designed to work the best with you when you're in motion. I said before, I love to run, and a lot of the runs that I do are guided, where they'll be very coach-like, where you'll have 5 or 7 minutes or so of content, and then you'll have some space where there's just some quiet to think, to process, to come up with an action step, or to think through what's next. And so we wanted to take a sort of a hybrid model of that and bring it to you guys for the podcast. And so I would say, when you invest in these, the more you put into them, the more you'll get out. And we're not going to overwhelm you with more content. We're going to give you 5-6 minutes of things that we want to discuss, things that you should be really become more aware of. And then we're going to give you space to think through it, whether you want to journal it in your right side up journal, whether you want to, sit and process quietly, whether you're running, just some time to objects in motion, stay in motion, and you can consume these and you can apply these better, and you'll have some different thoughts and you'll take away more and you'll come out the other side more effective and refreshed. So stay in motion, find something creative, and dedicate 30 minutes or so to this, and the results on the other side will be phenomenal.
Awesome. Well, that's our intro in terms of structure topic. What are we talking about this summer? Probably no surprise to you that we are going to be diving deeper into my new book, Anti-Burnout, A Lighter Way to Live and Lead in a Heavy World. Friends, these are heavy times, and we want to invite you into some paradigm shifts this summer. So here's what we're doing. In these 8 weeks of July and August, we're taking on 8 very, very intentional topics. They're here in the book, and they're obstacles and opportunities on the other side of that. So what we're trying to do is in about a 20-minute time frame, take you from seeing this as this is a problem to reframing what could the opportunity be on the other side of that. So view these as a reframe. Each one you say, here is something that every leader deals with at some point. So we want you to feel really normal in that. However, we don't want it to sit there and we don't want you to leave it. So we're going to invite you to a mind shift. And on the other side of that, there's an opportunity. And so we're going to start in just a few minutes with one of my favorite ones. It's actually foundational and really core for what we do here at Stay Forth. And so, again, that's why we want you to get outside, where hopefully for you, it's either a back porch, walking, running, hiking, somewhere outside. When we're going to bring these to you every single week on the same schedule that we have for how long. This is July and August for anyone listening who is a leader of any kind of influence. And so a mom, a dad, a teammate, team member, CEO, solopreneur, ministry leader, that's you. And these topics will hit you between the eyes. I bet you 1 or 2 of them will really hit you this summer. So Jonathan, anything else before we get rocking?
Yeah, if we're talking obstacles and opportunities, I think it would be amiss not to sort of give a definition of what we mean when we say obstacles. And then so if we're looking at one side of the coin versus the other, what do we mean when we say obstacles?
Obstacles, something that is standing between you and where you want to be. Between you and where you want to be. So for some, that could feel massive. For others, that just feels like something that's slowing you down. And so 1 or 2 of these, again, are going to feel like that is the thing in front of me, and it feels like a giant mountain. For others, you go, yeah, that's kind of eating my lunch a little bit. For others, that's slowing me down, and I need to kind of keep aware of that. So that's one thing that we just want you to be thinking about this summer. And as we hop in here, again, we want you to know that you are completely normal and completely unique all at the same time. So again, you're not going to struggle with all these. You're going to be doing really well actually on some of them. And we want you to keep the opportunities in mind. And so there is optimism and hope here. We're not just sharing 8 really hard things in the world. We're going to bring you to the other side. So there's a movement or a progression in all these, not just in the silence, but in some of the content that I'll bring as well.
We're going to jump in, but I think oftentimes, especially when you look at opportunities themselves can be disguised as an obstacle in your way. And so it's important the more we understand what obstacles we will face in our life and leadership, that oftentimes the opportunities on the backside of those can themselves seem almost like an obstacle at times. So the more we add clarity there, the better we're equipped to navigate them.
We're talking about something we love to talk about here at Stay Forth because it can be so freeing. We are not in the leadership business. We're in the freedom business. We don't just want to give you tips and tricks. You can find plenty of those online. We actually want to bring you foundational and formational pieces in your leadership that will help you come out on the other side to be more free, to be more uniquely living out your own design, not copying somebody else's. And that starts with the obstacle of overwhelm and the opportunity of clarity. Clarity is not just a buzzword here at Stay Forth. We talk about it a lot. So throughout this episode, we're going to move to that. But I'm going to read you this keystone phrase first. And for each of these, we have a keystone phrase that kind of guides our time. And is this idea: when clarity goes up, overwhelm goes down. There's a natural relationship, and you'll see it here in the book. But if you haven't read the book, we have this pulley. And if you can imagine 2 sandbags stretched over a pulley, and if you are feeling really overwhelmed, overwhelm is high, that pulley is up. But if you can go lower, lower, lower on that, you're fighting for more clarity, just a couple percent at a time. What I get to experience during a coaching session is that often the clarity moves in a course of minutes, maybe one question, one idea, one tool, and you feel that relief and that release on the other side of it. Well, what is overwhelm? Let's start there. It's simply this feeling it's all too much. I have signed up for too much. My responsibilities are too much. The things I need to fit in this amount of time are too much. Maybe sometimes I am too much. I've got so much going on, I can't get to it all. And I want to read you a few statements here. And this is, again, from the section right here in Anti-Burnout. And a lot of the stuff we're going to read straight from the book because I believe that it's so powerful to be able to get the same things that you can hear in the book. Overwhelm is part of life and leadership, but we cannot stay here. Overwhelm comes for all of us, but everyone responds to it differently. Overwhelm can move from a feeling into a way of life if we do not take action. Overwhelm, if not addressed, can slide into burnout. That's really important to hear that one. Overwhelm, if unaddressed, guys, it is pre-burnout. Overwhelm can be a helpful signal that you're carrying too much. We'll come back to that later. And lastly, overwhelm, if addressed wisely, can lead us toward helpful changes. What are those helpful changes? They're going to be clarity, fighting for clarity. There's 2 types of overwhelm to be thinking about. There's positive overwhelm and negative overwhelm. Positive overwhelm, let's start there. You're like, wait a minute, how is overwhelm positive? Well, it's when you have so many good things that you've said yes to or that you have kind of snuck up on that suddenly you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough hours in the week, you don't have enough days to be able to get to these things. And maybe you said yes to it all. You love what you're doing at work. I find this with a lot of successful leaders. So if you're listening to this and you've seen a measure of success, guess what? People are going to want more of your time, more of your energy, and you're going to be tempted to say yes, yes, yes to all those things. Here's the problem. Most of those things are good. Very few of them are best. And that's where clarity comes in. Now, what's bad? Overwhelm. The negative side of this is when you have said yes to some bad things. Now, maybe these are draining things. Maybe these are way too many things you knew you shouldn't have said yes, but because of your character, you're going to continue to live those out. Honestly, most of us live in the combination of both. Is that we have a lot of good things and then a couple of hard or bad things come in there and then we have to manage those. We have to take care of those emergencies and we are trying to get to the bad and the good in the course of the week. So however you got there, whether it's more positive overwhelm, whether it's more negative overwhelm that started with, regardless, we have an issue on our hands.
There's 2 lies associated with overwhelm. And we've all felt them. I know I have too. Like you, especially if you're solution focused, and most high capacity leaders are solution focused. If there's something not right, got to get to a solution, got to fix it. And that is not a healthy way to live and lead. The other one is just to give up. And that's also a defeatist mentality, and that's also very unhealthy. So describe some of the nuances of those 2 lies about overwhelm and then what you call the middle path.
And many times it's fight. I'm going to push so hard and I'm going to wrestle every little thing to the ground, like you're talking about, Jonathan, because we're solution oriented right here. That can turn and be a huge negative for us. Is that if I'm trying to find a solution through every single area and I'm not going to rest until I've gotten through all these, well, you're probably not going to rest, because leadership, things keep coming back your way. And here's the result of that: it's decision fatigue. Overwhelm can move quickly into decision fatigue, because if I've got to touch everything, then I'm going to fight my way through this, which means I got to be in control of all these, which means I'm not going to throw things to my team. Everything has to go through me, and it's that perfectionist mindset. By the way, we can often see other people are overwhelmed before we can see it in ourselves, similar to burnout. Be careful and ask your team in that. The second piece is that lie over here that there's so much that the only option is to run away. Ever, like, whether it was your room that's stacked up with so many things, or bills, or maybe it's debt in your life. Maybe there's so many responsibilities that you feel like, I can't even get started. I don't even want to look at that. I've already got 200 emails. I'm not even going to start chipping away at those. That's that flight piece. And so right there in the middle is actually to be able to flourish within there, to hold that tension and walk that middle path, which is to clarify, to actively clarify, what do I need to do next? What is most important? What are the things I'm going to fight for? By the way, rest and replenishment should be one of those you're fighting for this summer. And that is why clarity is so important, is because without it, it looks like I just have 64 tasks to do. I have 200 emails to do. But once I can clarify, I know here is the main thing. And this is what truly matters.
Nice. That's a great word. So we're going to leave you guys for a few minutes. And I want you to think about this question, as it will help us when we come back, as we move into the other side of this. So we're going to leave you for a bit. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're watching this, you're going to see some visuals up on the screen. But I want you to spend some time and identify the source or sources of overwhelm in your life and leadership. And what is the lie that you're believing of that source or those sources?
This could be a good chance to get personal, and just to say that the sources are going to be different for all of us. We talk about a simple grid of heart, soul, mind, body, and relationships. Maybe you're overwhelmed with the expectations people have of you in relationships right now. Maybe it's them and you need to re-clarify. Maybe it's you and you've overcommitted to something. Maybe your body you're facing a physical ailment and you have no idea how to be able to do that, or you're overweight and don't know how to get back to an exercise rhythm or routine or eating healthy or something like that. So that's why it's so important to say, what part of your life hurts most right now? What part of your life hurts most right now? Maybe you feel like by the time I show up Monday, I'm already behind on my week. And by the way, this is exactly why we designed the Right Side Up Journal, is that every day and every week we help you clarify. We're recording this on a Monday, which means last night I sat down and walked through the different pieces of my week. I looked back at last week, looked ahead, clarified things, and I always feel better, and I don't have the Sunday scaries coming into that. So that would be a great example of, if you can identify the area, then you identify the lie. Let's say you identify the area, I'm always going to be behind at work in my schedule. And that's the lie that you're believing about your area. Maybe the lie is that I'm always going to be overweight and I'm never going to be able to feel physically fit again or have energy again. Then it starts as the area as the physical, and then that lie right there comes from that. Now, what you can do is actually replace that with the truth. What is the truth? What could you clarify? And you say, I need to find an exercise program that works for me, that's sustainable, that I can continue to do 3 times a week. Now we're talking. Now you can get somewhere. Because when you're crushed with overwhelm, you are not heading toward freedom. You are a prisoner inside, essentially, of your own mind and sometimes your own expectations as we beat ourselves up. So this is really, really important to be able to make sure that you are able to identify the area and the lie that comes out of that. I'll just be honest. For me, Jonathan, if you want to share as well, is one of those lies for me is that if it's going to be done right, I have to do it myself. And this is something that we've talked about even as a team. And to make sure, Jonathan, that there are some things that I need to be able to do. I don't have somebody else there with me in a one-on-one coaching session, but most of the things on our team, I actually won't do. We have Quinn to be able to do that, and you to be able to do those things. And so now we need to clarify where we're working together to be able to do those things. So that's one of those big areas for me. It's that strength piece. Like, I'm going to muscle up, get all this stuff done, sort of put this thing on my back, make it happen. Meanwhile, the team won't feel very valued in that, and it just won't be that great if I just do it myself without help. So what about you, Jonathan? What's kind of the area for you?
I've always been forward focused, and I've always been driven by, reaching destinations down the line. And I think that's true for most visionary leaders and high capacity leaders, entrepreneurs, whomever, just goal oriented. You just want to stack those up. And for me, I realized it would keep me so focused into the unknown that I would get trapped there. And then I would have to bring myself back and say, wait a minute, I don't always have to think. I don't always have to know what's 30 steps down the line. I can't control that. I can have an idea, but I don't have to know what's there. And I just need to think about what's going on right here. And so for me, the lie was I have to always be looking 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 steps on the line to a point of certainty. And it would keep me from being able to operate in a way that was tangible and intentional in the morning, the afternoon, the day, and the week. And so to be able to work that back and bring clarity there and say, I need to be aware of what could be there, but I'll never be certain. And I just need to be able to get myself where I can focus here. That's been a reality check for me.
And many of these are defense mechanisms. And you described that. It's kind of like so that the future doesn't sneak up on you, so you can be in control. We all have defense mechanisms that we've built up to be able to survive. But the reality is, in order to thrive, we are going to have to let go of some of those things. What got us here isn't going to get us there. And that's so important. But if we're not aware of those things, we can't take action. And so one thing that I want you to pay attention to is going to lead to the second thing during this whole series, is that awareness must lead to action. Once you have awareness, once you have clarity, then you can take courage. Once you have awareness, then you can take action. And so these questions are designed to be able to create awareness in you, and then we want to move you toward action. It's not enough to just know. Once we know, okay, what's my next step? And be kind to yourself, but please do take a step. So you're not thinking about your next 50 steps like you're talking about, Jonathan, but you're not stuck going up in the same places that I was before. Also, one of the great lies here, you said the word certainty. is that we can find certainty in life. Friends, I hate to be the spoiler alert. We cannot find certainty in life. We can gain clarity. And so sometimes we think, oh, what's the point? Life's too out of control over here. Or the other lie, I'm going to grip everything for over control and I'm going to find certainty. We don't know where the election is heading. We don't know the future of our world. We don't know what's going to be around the next bend. We don't know what great or hard things, maybe 2 or 4 or 6 months ahead for us. But what we can do is fight for clarity in the areas that we know, and we can do what's called appropriate control. Appropriate control, we can fight for that. So I just want you to be aware of that. If you today are fighting for certainty, then you are fighting a battle that is unwinnable and will only lead to more fear and anxiety. But when you fight for clarity, you're actually fighting a battle that is helpful to every single area of your life. You start with one area, then you can move to the other areas. Maybe it's a 5-minute clarification, or maybe it's a 5-month clarification. It's going to take you a long time to make progress on. But friends, you are not stuck. We're going to talk about that in the next episode.
So we're going to leave you for just a few more minutes. And while you're having this silent time, whatever you're out doing, in light of the areas in your life that you've identified that you're experiencing overwhelm and the lie behind it, what are the action steps that you can take right now, today, to move the needle towards some greater clarity?
I hope that was helpful for you to find a couple of action steps. Again, we're not looking for 17. I'm thinking 2 or 3 action steps. Let's go back to the example I was using. If you feel like, man, I just simply can't get my physical health under control, I'm not feeling energy, I continue to gain weight, whatever that is for you, then say, okay, if that's an awareness piece that feels overwhelming to you, your next step could be talking to somebody who you know has lost weight and kept the weight off and is feeling more energized on the other side of it. Maybe for you, that's getting back in the gym and this time hiring out the trainer for 1 or 2 sessions that can help you understand the machines. Maybe that's walking a mile a day and just starting there and seeing where it goes. Maybe for you, it's scheduling a 5K 6 months from now and knowing that you're going to have to train for that. That is, I think, where it gets fun, is that there isn't just one next step that everybody should do. Depending on your area, you're going to have to read and run. Friends, we can't do the work for you. We can guide you along the process. And that's why we say at Stay Forth, we are mountain guides for the leadership journey. As coaches, we can bring up a question. We can help you clarify. We can even ask you if you took that step. But friends, it's your turn. The end of each episode, you've got a week. You got a week before another episode pops, and we want you to be able to actually take your next right step. So kind of bringing us in for a landing, Jonathan, what else do you have for us as we close up this episode talking about overwhelm that ultimately leads to clarity?
You said in the book, overwhelmed leaders create confusion and not clarity. And the reality is the overwhelm that you will face and the clarity that you want to pursue, no one can do those things but you. Those action steps there, you have to take them. People around you can point them out. You can identify them in certain areas, but you have to take them. And so our hope is that with what we're unpacking with you is that it will flip a switch, shed some light, give you some clarity and some space to say, hey, you know what? I can stop, take a breath, reframe, and take another step. So with that, we guys hope you have enjoyed this first episode of our summer series, Anti-Burnout, A Lighter Way to Live and Lead, as we're taking you through obstacles and opportunities for the climb. We will see you right back here next week on another episode of Stay Forward Leadership Podcast.